Okay, everyone, welcome back. Episode number 9. This time, after episode number 8, when we had, with me were the 3 designers of our team, today is almost the same, but not exactly, because we have just one of the designers with me. This time, Marinelka is, or as we like to say, Marinelka from our team is with me. We're going to talk about, obviously, design, yet again. And she's one of the people you joined when, like 6 months ago?
6 months ago.
6 months ago, okay. So how are the first 6 months in the company?
Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Fun?
I learned a lot and you are very cool guys, so it's nice.
It's enjoyable experience?
Yeah.
Oh, that was kind of strange answer from her, but anyway, we'll talk about that later on.
Strange.
Okay, so Marinelka is very much into illustrations. In the first 6 months, she did how many? 20, 30 illustrations only for our internal purposes, right?
Yeah.
20, 30 illustrations, or I don't know exactly
only for our?
No, only ours are 20 or 30 full-blown, very detailed illustrations. And not to mention our clients, obviously. You are very much into illustrations.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that people something that people in the business world consider kind of childish. What's your opinion on that? Why are people thinking, are illustrations childish?
It depends on the type of the illustrations.
Okay, so they can be not childish, obviously.
Yeah, there are many brands that use the illustrations nowadays, and you can see them more and more in the websites. There are some brands like Microsoft, I think.
Microsoft are really heavy on the last few years. Yeah. Which one are you using illustrations? Microsoft
Shopify,
are very big.
Shopify
are big. Revolt are also these guys that are a fintech company that are doing this digital banking stuff.
Yeah,
They're really
Dropbox
big.
also.
Yeah, Dropbox are.
Yeah, and they all use different kind of illustrations, but they look very professional and unique for their brand.
And so, for the people who consider illustrations childish, well, that's not the case. They can be very, very professional, right? So
yeah, because they're custom. They're made for your brand, for your situation.
Yeah.
And it's more professional to use something that is made for you, not to use rather than to use some photo from
some type of website, downloaded, paid, whatever.
Because it's not for you, and it's much expensive to take photos for yourself.
Yeah. Well, if you're aiming to create, you mean if people are aiming to create their own unique photos?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's more cheaper. It's more cheaper to make illustrations.
Oh, that depends.
That depends.
That depends. Even though photos sometimes can be cheap, right? So even if you are depending on who you hire, they can be cheap sometimes. But that depends.
It depends.
It depends. It always depends if you think about it. It always depends. So the other important thing is for you, at least what I think is very important for you, is that not only you are very into illustrations and that world, but you every single time we like to, behind your back obviously, we like to laugh at the way you communicate with the whole team because you are really into gesturing. People cannot see that, but our team knows what we're talking about. The people who are joining our events may have noticed it, who knows. But when you're speaking, you really like to gesture, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, maybe I need to speak more and to
gesture less.
Yeah. I think it's practice.
Yeah, but it's who you are. Who cares?
Yeah, it's who am I.
So you recently, before we talk about design, you recently joined the other designers in our team, Maria and Milena, and you guys delivered a workshop or an event or a seminar or whatever we may want, training for the TED Co-op not in a country but in a city here in Bulgaria. In Bogorgrad. Yeah. The TED event there is humongous. It's organized by students only, and yet it's one of the best TED events in Bulgaria, at least. So what was the experience? It is one of the first experiences in terms of like not just designing the slides, but for you to deliver a presentation, preparing it, designing it, and then delivering it. What is it to work in a presentation agency and then also not just design, but also deliver? How was the experience?
We are agency that are making presentations and know how to speak.
Yeah.
And we teach these people to design, and we have to show them how to speak too.
That's kind of tricky one.
Yeah,
right?
it's very tricky because it was my first time to speak in front of these people. In front of people, yeah.
Any audience.
And I rehearse a lot with my college, Maria and Milenka. They helped me a lot.
So you rehearsed?
Yeah.
And you mean like full-blown rehearsal, like going through the whole presentation as you are going to deliver it, right?
Yes. So we separate the presentation to 3 parts.
Okay.
And mine, of course, was the shorter one.
Oh, okay.
But
that's up to you guys to decide.
Yeah, but it was very interesting. Yeah, the first thing we did was to make the design of the presentation.
Okay.
And after that, we separated, and each of us
you had to rehearse that.
Rehearse at home.
Yeah, and I remember that you were going downstairs at our office, rehearsing it to each other, like preparing it, presenting it to each other.
It was 4 hours.
Yeah.
Presenting with Maria, the first rehearsal, and it was very interesting because she has more experience, and when she started to speak, it was very calm and confident, and I feel very, very chill. And after that, I start to.
You started presenting after her?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it was different.
It was very different.
You experienced it in a different way.
The whole room was this feel. You can feel it. My nervous, and I was not that confident.
Okay.
But she helped me a lot of this, and I rehearsed a lot, and with the simple words and sentences. It was good in the end.
Oh yeah, so many people, I'm asking you all of that because many people that we work with and that maybe you created the presentations for don't rehearse at all. They consider that completely unnecessary, and most of the times they regret afterwards.
Oh, I remember when we were going with a car to Volgograd.
Yeah.
We rehearsed at the car. So we opened the laptop, and the whole crew was rehearsed, and it was very fun. And
but did it help?
Yeah, it helped a lot.
Okay, so that's a pro tip coming from someone who works at a presentation agency.
Rehearse as many you can.
Yeah, as many times as you can. Yeah,
as
crazy, obviously, and as the presentation is like, if the presentation is even like critical or important or like crucial for the person or for the business, you have to rehearse it even more, right? Well, yeah, that's how it goes. So back to the design part, like we do, and you have been involved in a lot of the presentations that we created in the last like 6-7 months. So we ask a lot of things during the brief with our clients. Like, what are the questions that you really want to know the answer of before you start designing anything? Like whether or not you are going to ask us, me, Eva from our team, or the client. What do you really need to know in order to make sure that the design will support that presentation the best possible way?
Yeah.
What are the important things? You mentioned a few, I believe, in the previous episode, but let's get back to that one.
The first thing I ask them is what is the goal of their presentation, what they want to say with it.
Okay, so what they want to achieve more or less with that presentation?
Yeah, they must have one goal.
Okay.
It's very important, and other important thing is for which
what type of audience, maybe, or
what is their
go. The first one is the first one is going to be what type of end goal are they aiming for, right? What they want to achieve after the presentation ends. That has to be clear in their minds, because otherwise, well, nothing will help them that much. And then what else? The second one?
What is their audience that they're going to present?
Who's going to be in front of them? Okay.
Yeah, it's very important.
Why is that important? Like, why planning and spending time thinking who is going to be in front of you.
Because this
important
is
in first place.
I think this is the most important thing. Because you are in this room to speak to these people, and you have to be in their shoes.
Okay.
You have to think about them, what they want to hear, how you're going to present, what to show them. Yeah, you have to think about this, because there is a difference if you are going to present to teenagers or to CEO. To teenagers, you can be more playful.
Yeah, there are different groups if you think about them.
Yeah.
Kind of different.
Very different.
Very.
You have to think about this.
Yeah, but you as designers also want to know, we definitely want to know who is in front of them, especially when we tailor and think about the content. But that also obviously reflects and is important for the design, right?
Yeah.
How is it? So is it going to be that once you know the audience, you can change something in the design and choose different things from design perspective based on the audience?
Yeah, you can choose the colors, even the font, because
can be chosen based on the audience.
The font is speaking, actually.
Yeah, Maria likes to say that. I believe, like she is really into fonts.
Yeah.
Okay.
And fonts, colors,
shapes, maybe.
Shapes,
maybe.
Yeah, because if you're presenting to a young age group, you can use more modern shapes and.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, what about photos?
What about photos?
Photos, images, icons, are they dependent on the audience again? Like, what do you think? Are we going illustrations even? Do we include illustrations like if we are presenting in front of?
We can include icons to teenagers and to CEO.
Yeah.
It depends on the situation, because there are some presentation that doesn't need icons.
Yeah.
Or photos.
For that matter, transitions and animations are not needed most of the times. Like if people are using them like crazy, I know that you have a very interesting opinion on transitions.
Yeah, the transitions are very tricky. And I know most of the people like to use them because they're very interesting and playful, but you have to think about it. My favorite is Morph.
Yeah, the
and
new one.
Fate.
Yeah, the new one. Even though Morph is not that new.
Not that new,
like
but you
years.
have to use 365.
Yeah, Office 365 for Office 2019 also supports Morph.
Yeah.
That's important to mention.
And that is very important to ask our clients, do they have this Office 365? Because if they don't have it, we will not use Morph transition.
Yeah, we have to adapt based on that.
Yeah.
But you'll be shocked, by the way. I don't know whether or not you know, or whether or not that part of the conversation for some reason is something that you already saw with some of our clients. You'll be shocked how many of our clients moved to PowerPoint 2019 or Office 365 just because of Morph.
Wow.
And that's kind of insane if you think about it. Just because, like, once you see what Morph can do, and for those of the listeners who don't know what Morph is, you can go and check out our website. We have done, like, I don't know, at least a dozen articles on that part. Many clients are moving.
It's very flexible, because you can use Morph for photos, for shapes, text, or even charts.
Yeah, and now, by the way, new improvements came to Morph already, which are in the public now, again in the so-called insiders build, which is public completely. Some people, because Microsoft are using 2 exclamation marks to choose which type of shapes to. Now you will be able to do like moving from a shape, imagine moving from a rectangle to morphing this into a triangle, let's say. We'll be able to do stuff like that now.
That's nice.
And that's in its most basic form.
Yeah.
The fun part is that hopefully Echo from the US will hear that podcast at some point, but she came up with a name of this new improvement of Morph, and because Microsoft are using 2 exclamation marks in front, she called it Bang Bang Morph. And so it is a very long story, but they decided to call it not Microsoft, but the MVP world and the PowerPoint people decided to kind of call it Bang Bang Morph because of those exclamation marks. So don't be shocked if you see it somewhere on the web. Yeah. Anyway, back to all of that stuff. So transitions and animations are something that's cool. You recommend Fade and Morph.
Yeah.
Any else? Any other that you kind of like or not that much?
Not that much.
Okay.
Yeah, Fade is very enough for a smooth transition from slide to slide.
And you have it in all versions of PowerPoint. Like,
yeah.
It is not version dependent.
Yeah, it's basic.
That's true.
Transition.
That's true. I know that you guys said once we are doing all of those briefs and talking with the clients, sometimes we do presentation that is for a live audience, and sometimes we create a presentation that is only being sent over email. I know that you most of the times like very much put a lot of thinking into whether or not it should be 16 by 9, like the widescreen proportion, or the 4 by 3. What is your what are your thoughts on, should people use 4 by 3 for their live presentations, or should they go immediately to 16 by 9?
4 by 3 is the old version.
The squarish type of, yeah.
Yeah, and firstly, you have to know how you're going to present,
Yeah, it's going to be live.
So the first thing that it's important to you to know is for what kind of projector you're going to present, because it's not that often, but it still have that old kind of projector that is 4 by 3. And
or as they call it in the US, beamers. Some people call them beamers. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
So you don't want to have that situation that you're making your presentation
in 16 by 9.
16 by 9, and you're going to present a very important presentation, and you go there and you see 4 by 3, and you don't.
That's kind of a problem. Yeah, that's kind of a problem if you are in a situation like that.
Yeah, you have to know that 4 by 3 is we suggest to use for slide doc.
Yeah, for slide docs,
documents. For slide doc documents, and it's more closer to books size. And the size 16 by 9 is very close to your phones and to your screen. So it's a new size. Yeah. And it's for live presentations.
Yeah, so that's the recommended like file, let's call it. That's the recommendation for people.
Yeah.
By the way, if you think about it, if Microsoft changed how PowerPoint boots up, like how PowerPoint starts, if Microsoft decided to change it in, I believe it was 2010 when they changed it. So in 2007 it was 4 by 3 by default, and in 2010 it was 16 by 9 by default. 2010.
Wow.
So if Microsoft decided to change that by default in 2010, well, that's a sign that maybe, it's kind of time for people to move on and decide on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, but we still see people using 4 by 3.
Yeah, it's old, but it's gold.
Yeah, it's old but gold. It's old but gold.
Yeah.
And yet there could be a case, and I believe we had recently a case where you get into a room where the projector or the beamer does not support 16 by 9. And that could be a problem. That's why maybe you said that the people and the speaker should know what room they are getting into and what type of technologies, like what type of projector is there in, so that they can plan the presentation ahead. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's kind of important. Otherwise, our whole work goes into the garbage, more or less, right? Okay, so you guys the designers have something that has been defined with various types of wording. Like some of you are calling it white space, some of you are calling it empty space, and some of you are calling it negative space. What is that all about? Like, if I'm not a designer, what does that mean for me, and why is it important? Like, what is that thing?
So for me, white space means that your content to breathe, to have enough space between your elements and text.
Okay.
And because when you have this white space, your audience will understand your slide more quickly and easily.
Okay. That's why people don't push, for example, in the menus of their phones. Like if you see the designs of Apple or Google, they don't push the icons next to each other, right?
Yeah.
Even they can do that, but they are not doing that because they follow this idea, this principle maybe of negative space or white space.
Yeah, so the question is how we can achieve this white space.
Okay.
When we summarize our sentences and we use only keywords in our slides to use, for example, icons. And I mean, everything you want to put in this slide needs to make sense.
Yeah, okay.
You have to think about it. Do I need this on the slide? And if the answer is I think
maybe.
no.
Maybe.
It's only because it looks nice. This is not correct answer.
Yeah.
And you have to think about it. Do you need that much stuff on the slide? Because when you start to talking, the people look at your presentation, and if they see a lot of elements, they start to reading them, watching them, and to think about, oh, what is this? And they stop listening.
But also, if they are crashing into each other and there is no space in between them, or they're crashing into any other element, that does not look professional also.
Yeah, everything needs to be aligned. Use grids.
Yeah, for people who are not into design and grids, they may want to go to like the view tab and enable them through PowerPoint. There is like a checkbox they can use and kind of work around there. But
it looks more professional where everything is aligned. You have small elements on the slide.
Yeah, and even if you think about it, even in PowerPoint you have all the needed technologies to make sure that everything is aligned. Many people don't know that, but for most part, I understand the designers, you have like more requirements in regards to that, but even for the end user who is not a designer, but any other type of person, you have everything that you need in order to align your elements on the slides easily, especially with the help of guides. It's so easy. Okay, so your advice was very cool in regards to like people and presenters should push themselves to ask whether or not each element supports their message on the slide, and if it's yes, then let it be there. But if it's no, then we suggest, hey, throw that away.
Yeah.
It looks cool to you, but no, it's taking space and stuff. Okay, and that this space we can use to kind of, once we have that space opened, let's call it, then we can kind of align our stuff so that everything has this negative space as designers, as you guys like to say. Okay, one last here, because it's an important one, and let's try to keep it brief, because that's a question that maybe deserves a separate episode, I believe. What do you think about, like, many of our clients are pushing us to have logo on every slide? Like, what's your opinion on that? Like, that's existential question. Like, should there be a logo on every slide or not? Like, what's your opinion on that one?
I think of one example that we definitely need a logo on every slide. This is when you are in a big conference with a lot of people, because if somebody take a picture of your slide or picture of you next to your slide, after they open these images, they easily can remember or see the brand that you're present.
Yeah, many times there are photographers at those events and they're taking photos.
Yeah, and there are a lot of people.
And there are also a lot of people that are taking photos by themselves. Like a lot of people doing screenshots of the slides of the speakers. still, by the way. Yeah, and so in this case, logo on each slide may help you, right? Because you will be able to remember. Yeah,
because there are a lot of companies that are going to present.
Yeah. True. Yeah, and that makes sense. So if I have to see the pictures afterwards, I will easily remember. Hey, who was this guy? Oh, okay, he's coming from Microsoft or any other company, because I can see it. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, one of the other places I believe where we need it is we use it is for print, right? Because sometimes the things that we create are being printed out, and then we had a case where people are like doing 100 pages, like the document is a 100-page document, and then they tell us that they can take like 10 pages out of it and give it to someone, and then if we don't have the logo on those 10 pages, and if I receive those 10 pages, my initial question will be, hey, where is this coming from, right? Then the logo will make sense again, I believe.
Yeah, we definitely need logo
on each slide, even though it's not the best thing to do, but it's from communications perspective it will be the right thing to do. Yeah. Wow. What an episode. Illustrations, public speaking, white space. Logos. Transitions and animations also. What was this one? Episode number 9?
9, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Episode number 1 is your episode, as we can say. Okay, guys. So for everyone who joined us, listen to this episode in your car or on your way to work. Hopefully you learn something new from designers' perspective, because that's how designers kind of think about presentations. But don't forget, even designers rehearse their presentations, which is maybe a sign that you also have to rehearse them. But that's completely different. That's a separate episode by itself, obviously. Marinela, thanks again. You were gesturing, obviously, again, quite a lot here in the room. So thanks again for joining. And
thank you.
Guys, stay tuned for next week, because next week, yet another from our designer is joining me. We're going to be talking about design again, but we are going to cover a bit different topics. So thanks again for joining, and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.